Our registration script is going to be the longest of all the scripts in our login system. However, not all of it is completely new. We can borrow some of it from our login script. So if we go over there and go down to the end of this script, we can take the form to let the users log in and copy it over to our new page and use it with only slight modifications. For a start, when the form calls the page that it's on, we want to ask for the page name that it's now on rather than the input page that we've just taken it from. We'll also change these prompts here very slightly, and we'll change the name of the button from login to register. But otherwise we can reuse this little piece of HTML. We're going to save this as register.php. We can also take from the top this part of the script as well and copy that over. Except we're going to say register rather than login, and the same for this header here within the body. Now, as we begin our registration script, the first thing we want to check is that the user and password have been entered. If the user and password have not been entered, then it's likely that we're entering this page for the first time. If, however, the user and password have already been filled, then what it means is that we have arrived at this page by means of the form at the foot of the page calling the page itself, along with the two variables that were specified down here, user and pass. So we therefore need to make a connection to the database, and we need to select the user list database, and we're going to run a query which is simply going to select all the users where the name is the same as the value that we've just used as the input from the user. Now, the reason for this query is to check whether the username is already on the database, because we want to ensure that all the usernames that we enter are unique, so that there's not two users with the same username. So therefore, what we want is to get a negative response, or a zero response rather, from this query. So if there are no rows returned from the query, then we can conclude that the user has not been entered on the database yet, and therefore we'll allow them to add their name and password to the database. We're going to use this insert SQL statement. And we're going to put the user variable in, and we're going to use the password, MySQL password function, and that will surround the pass variable that they've just handed us. There's a confusing lot of brackets right at the end of here, but essentially the inner bracket is for this password function, the outer bracket is for the end of the demarcation of the values that we're going to enter into the users table, and the last bracket here is the end of the argument for the MySQL query function, which is the SQL string itself. Once we've added the username and password to the database, we want to check that that has been carried out successfully. So if it has, then this will give a true value. If not, we'll get a false value. So presuming that it has been entered successfully, then we can log in the user to save them having to log in straight after registering, and we'll register that variable. Then we'll give them a little message to let them know that they've been added successfully, and a couple of line breaks after that. Then we want to give them the links to the next parts of the site that they can enter, along with another couple of line breaks. And we're also going to give them a link to the logout page. Once that's done, then we don't want to execute any of the rest of the script. For instance, we don't want them to get down and see this form again. So we're going to use an exit command to stop executing the script.